I'm Dr. Brandon Vaness. I'm an instructor for Chemistry 2110L and 2120L, the Organic Chemistry 1 and 2 laboratories. We are currently outside of 064 BREM, the Organic Teaching Lab, and I want to go over some of the new updates to our COVID safety policies before we get into the lab, so that you're familiar with the updates and the things that we're doing to keep you safe in the lab. Before I do that, though, I want to point out that you must have the updated lab manual for this semester. This is the Fall 2020 lab manual. If you have taken this class in the past and wish to use the old lab manual, you will not be able to do so because there have been substantial changes to the experiments for this semester. So you'll have to go and get this at the bookstore. It's the only place it's available for it. So make sure you order it today so that you can have it in time for the first week of classes. With that said, we have some new policies. We have some new policies for the fall organic chemistry labs, and which will also carry on to the spring 2021 semester. You're going to notice that we have a list of safety information on the door. We also only have one entrance door into the lab and one exit door on the other side of the lab. So there's this big red stop sign that says, before you enter this lab, you must be wearing the following: appropriate lab attire, no shorts, no open-toed shoes, lab coat, goggles, face mask, and gloves. Now, you should already have your mask on. The reason why I don't have my mask on right now is so that you can hear me in the video. Right? Before you enter the lab, you must have all these things on. So let's go ahead and get going with this. Let's go ahead and put our lab coat on. We'll go ahead and put on our safety goggles in a moment. Okay, now I'm going to make sure my mask is secure. I'll put my goggles on, and I'm going to put gloves on. Now when you come here to the lab, we're going to have a cart off to the side here that's going to have a hand sanitizer on it and boxes of gloves. So you'll take a pair of gloves and you're going to put those on while you're out here in the hallway. Right? Pick another pair of gloves and put them in your lab coat pocket. That way you have gloves in case these rip or tear. You always want to make sure that you wash your hands before you put your gloves on and after you take your gloves off. Now, when you enter the lab, you're going to be assigned to a hood. That will come out on Sunday, August 23rd, the hood assignments for each student in each lab section. Right? Attached at the end of this video is going to be the lab assignments of when you are coming to lab and when you are not. Please be advised that if you come to lab on a week that you are not assigned to come to lab, you will not be able to take that experiment. For example, Section 01G, 09J, 05H, and 03G will be coming to lab the first week of classes. Section 02G, 06H, and 07H will be online, doing an online experiment for the first week of classes. So if you're in Section 01G, you'll come to lab the first week. And if you are in Section 02G, you will be online. We are doing that to cut down on the number of students that are in the lab so that we can properly social distance in the lab. Now let's go ahead and take a look at some of the safety updates we've done in the teaching lab so that you're ready to go when you show up. Well, we're inside the lab now, and as you can see, we've put up dividers between each of the hoods. You'll also note that on the floor are markings of where you are supposed to stand in the lab. Now, we are currently waiting on some dividers to get finished for the bench tops, but we'll split the bench tops into partitions in which you can place your equipment to use and have a place to put your notebook and so on and so forth. You're also going to notice that we have labeled cubbies for you to put your bags. When you enter the lab, you will go to your cubby, put your bag in your cubby and your coat, and then go to your hood and wait for instructions from the TA. Please do not congregate with other students while in the lab. We do have an ice machine in the back. That's there, but we're going to have buckets for ice that will be spread around the lab. As we look around, all of the hoods are partitioned in the entire lab. Now you're going to also notice that there are some other markings in the lab. If you look over here, you can see these orange markings. Well, this is the center dispersing hood. And you're going to have to come here to go ahead and get chemicals and take care of other things. But if you look at the floor, there are two boxes here. The first box is for you to stand in while you're at the hood. This gives you enough room to reach the red waste container and this white solid waste disposal container. Other chemicals will be in here that you need to use, and the TAs are going to take, at the beginning of all the labs, move stuff around on a cart so that you can easily get the stuff without having to travel to the center dispersing hood. Right. Now, if you do need to use the center dispersing hood, and there's someone there, you have a wait box. This is not for the safety shower. This is to wait here to use this hood. So if you see someone standing here, and someone standing at the hood, and you need to get something from the hood, you need to wait for this box to become empty so that you can move over here to use that. Now, I'm not going to recreate the rest of the safety video that I did in the lab tour and the walkthrough that I did for the summer classes. You'll find that on Pilot so that you can take a look at it. One of the things I want to show you here is the exit door. Okay. When you exit the lab, you're going to take your gloves off and put them into the trash can. If you have these green nitrile gloves, these should go into the white recycling boxes in the lab. When you walk out the lab door with all of your stuff, you should have a clean face covering in a Ziploc bag for you to put on. Right, we want this to be clean because now the one that you've worn in here is contaminated and needs to be treated just as like your lab coat. So when you walk through this door, you're going to take your mask off, replace it with a clean mask, wash your hands, take your lab coat off, put the lab coat, goggles, and your dirty mask in a bag and take them home to launder. Always wash your lab coat and the mask that you wore in lab separately from your other clothing. I recommend that you wipe out your goggles with soap and water and let them dry until the next lab period. When you exit this door, you are not allowed back into the lab at the end. So if you forget to turn something in, you'll need to contact your TA about making arrangements to turn things in. But be advised that we are trying to limit the number of things that are turned in on paper this semester to prevent the spread of the coronavirus. So, Once you exit this door, you have to have everything with you so that you don't come back in. Right? Now that said, the labs are 2.5 hours long. If you do need to go to the bathroom, you can go to the bathroom and come back. You're going to have to take your gloves off when you leave to go to the bathroom. The closest bathroom is in the basement of Fawcett, but you can also access the bathroom on the first floor of Ullman or Brem laboratories. Just keep in mind that you're going to be walking around with your lab coat on, so you don't want to have your gloves on because people will freak out. Right? That's why we want you to carry around a second pair of gloves in your coat pockets so that you don't have to worry about finding gloves when you come back into the lab. Because the doors will be locked during the lab period, you'll need to knock loudly so that the TA can let you back in. Alright, so go ahead and review the safety video that's going to be on pilot before your first class period. Make sure you sign off on the safety notebook pages, the safety pages, pages 21 and 22 in your lab manual. You can bring those to lab. You'll need to also take the safety pre-quiz, and your TA will be checking to make sure that you've completed that for your first lab period. So everyone, regardless of when you're coming to the first lab period, should complete this safety quiz before your first lab period. That means everyone completes the safety the first week. All right? If you have any questions, feel free to email me or contact your TA.